Welcome, everybody, to the NFL Pick'em Show on the Grueling Truth Sports Network. The NFL Pick'em Show is brought to you by BetNow.eu. Use the promo code TRUTH100 to get a cashback bonus on your first deposit. I am your host for the NFL Weekly Pick'em Show, Mike Goodpaster. Right now, I'd like to welcome in my esteemed colleagues, plus Scott. So I'm going to start off with Brian Schmidt. How you doing, Schmitty?
Doing good. I feel like I just talked to you a half hour ago.
It does feel that way, and it feels like we were talking about the CFL. I don't know why it's like that, but it does feel that way.
It does. I don't know. Wednesday night is a big football night, so.
All right. I know Miami of Ohio is playing Ohio, too, on ESPN right now.
I know, and, I'm missing all of it because I haven't even turned the TV on yet, so.
No, because you want to talk to this man. A man who knows more than most people have forgotten about football. Scott Wilson. How you doing, Scott?
I am phenomenal. I started coaching my son's basketball team today, so
my
that
God.
was a whole.
All right, yeah. What are you doing? Are you just going to coach everything until you finally win a game?
Well, we have a lot of try. That's the goal. We're going to try a lot this year. So
no, Mike, he'd have to coach both teams for that, right?
No, he'd probably end up in a tie, is what I'm guessing.
Yes, something like that.
All right, and I'm hoping that maybe during your first game, I'm going to come up and I'm going to Facebook it to Mick Cronin so he can make some rude comments about your coaching during the game.
You know what? He's such a classy guy. What a neat man that he must be.
He is. He's a great guy.
Oh, sure.
No, actually, he is.
I've heard a lot different about him.
Well, he was always nice to me. And he wouldn't have anything to do with you, but that's because you come in last on the NFL Pick'em Show almost every week like you did this week.
Whatever. I don't think he and Curtis Bostic will be having lunch anytime soon. We'll just leave it at that.
Well, I don't think you and either one of them are going to have lunch very soon.
That's true.
So, all right. True. Now let me welcome to the show the LA man that cheers for an undefeated team halfway through the NFL season. Help me welcome to the show, Matt Andruscavage. How you doing, Matt?
I am doing well. Good to be back.
All right, and I wanted to bring up last week, Brian Schmidt, for the first time this year, came in first.
Hey.
Surprised me, too. So that means last week Scott Wilson came in first, and this week Brian Schmidt came in first.
Mike, are we just toying with him? Only to run away with it at the end?
We're not really toying with it because now we get to the point where we give the seasonal records, which right now Matt is a game ahead of me, and we're both at 500 or better. Schmitty is 8 games out of first, 7 games behind me. Scott Wilson is somehow 22 games behind.
What? 22? How did that get worse?
Well, because you were last this week, Scott.
Well, but I was still above 500. So I got a 50-50 chance every time.
For the year, you're 13 games below 500, just so you know.
Now, but it's a new day. A new day is dawning. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's what you say, but you never make it come to fruition. All right, let's just go ahead and start off. I don't know. Does anybody have any topics they want to discuss NFL-wise?
Ooh. Man, I don't remember what happened last week.
Matt was obviously on an all-weekend bender again.
Right. I had nothing to do. My team played on Thursday, so I watched, but I wasn't in tune.
All right. We'll just talk about the games then. Let's start off with this Thursday, which is a huge game in the AFC. The Los Angeles Chargers will battle the Oakland Raiders, and this is a game where I think the winner puts himself squarely in the conversation to be one of the wild cards in the pathetic AFC. We're going to start off with Matt. The Chargers are favored by 1.5 at Oakland.
Chargers favored by 1.5 at Oakland. I feel like there's pluses and minuses of both teams. I think I like the way Carr's playing a little bit better. The Chargers played pretty well against the Packers. That was a surprise. I thought they'd play well, but not that well. And the Raiders hung on to beat the Lions. I'm going to take the Raiders and the points here. I feel like at home they're just playing a little bit better than the Chargers, and now we got the news that the Chargers could be going to London. that has to be a little disheartening.
All right, a man who has never been to London. At least I'm guessing he hasn't, because I don't think they'd let him through customs. Scott, what do you like here?
My brother's been to London. He was really smart. So I'm actually going to take.
That's a great line.
Go ahead.
I'm going to take the Chargers on this. About 23-17. I think the Raiders or the Chargers. I don't think they. I don't think they're going to keep up with the Chiefs. But I tell you what, the Raiders are. It's a tough game. I think the Raiders are a good team, but I'm going to go with the Chargers on this. I think the Chargers I think they're like a top 10 scoring offense. I don't think the Raiders offense is going to outscore this team.
All right, Brian.
I think Matt said it best. There's a lot of pluses and minuses. My gut feeling tells me go with the Chargers. What I'm going to do. The reason being is the Chargers tend to have seasons like this where the first part of the season they kind of have 500 and all of a sudden they play well from this point on. And that game against Green Bay last week, they dominated, which I cheered for because I'm not a big Green Bay fan. So I'm going to take the Chargers. I just think that they may start being a hot team, and the Raiders are again, they're just so up and down. You just don't really know what team you're going to get.
I think both teams are like that. Melvin Ingram with Bosa now gives them a pass rush. I think Derek Carr is going to have a hard time throwing the ball. Josh Jacobs, though, is a really good running back. Who'd you pick, Scott?
I take the Chargers.
All right, I'm going to go with the Raiders, and I'm going to take the 1.5. And that's not a shot at you, Scott. It's just the fact that you're usually wrong. So I'm going to go ahead and just instead of flipping a coin,
No offense.
I'm just going to go with the guy that's like 13 games below 500 and just think that it's going to make it a safer pick.
No offense, but you always lose.
Well, actually, if you watch Talladega Nights,
Hey,
if you watch Talladega Nights, you'll know that you can say anything you want to somebody as long as you say something like, well,
Right, I say it nice.
Yeah, I said it nice. All right, Scott, since I took what mildly could be considered a shot at you, I'm going to let you pick the next game. The Buffalo Bills at the Cleveland Browns. The Browns are favored by 2.5.
God, this is
Browns are favored?
How are the Browns favored?
Because there's a minus 2.5 next to their name.
Wow, that's shocking.
I guess we know where Matt's picked.
So I think Buffalo's beaten a lot of bad opponents, and I think Cleveland has lost to some pretty good teams. Now
they've also lost to some pretty bad teams.
I know. You notice how you interrupt me every time, but your buddies over there, you don't say crap to them.
They don't say stupid stuff like you do as much. Go ahead.
Okay, that's probably true. So at home, I think I think Cleveland has a lot of pride, and I think
You think Cleveland has a lot of pride?
Wow.
I think Cleveland has a lot on the line here. What are you talking about?
That's what you said. You said that you
I
think
meant there's
Cleveland
a lot
has a lot of pride.
Did I finish? Jesus. Okay, so I think Nick Chubb and the defense are going to prevail at this one. I think 23-20 Browns. So I'm taking the Browns.
They're going to cover. All right.
Yes.
All right, Brian.
Oh, this going Buffalo. Cleveland right now is a gigantic cluster, and it's only going to get worse. And I will be shocked if Cleveland even comes close to winning this game. I just think coming out of that Denver game, losing that game the way they did, and so many things. They've already had to release a player. Odell Beckham is talking. Just all the problems they have. They've got a head coach that is definitely in the top 2 or 3 dumb head coaches in this league right now.
Yeah, he's only ahead of Opie Taylor.
Barely.
God.
Go ahead, Brian. I'm sorry that Scott so rudely interrupted you.
I
No,
apologize. Damn it.
I'm taking Buffalo.
All right, I'm going to take Buffalo also because they have an adult that coaches their team, and Freddie Kitchens coaches the Cleveland Browns. All right, so Matt, who do you like here?
Oh my gosh, it's no question the Bills and the points. Right now, here's the thing. Like Brian was saying, you got Odell. You just have so many problems over there. And with the Bills and their defense, I just don't see how Cleveland really puts a lot of points on the board. The Buffalo Bills do just enough on offense to win, and they've got a really good defense. I just can't see really where the Browns are going to be even competitive here.
I think they can be competitive, Matt, if Josh Allen turns the ball over. But Josh Allen has taken care of the ball the last few weeks.
Yeah, if Josh Allen turns the ball over, yeah, I think the Browns will have a shot there. But if they take care of the football, I just don't see where Cleveland's going to get points from. So I see Buffalo winning 20-6. So I'll take Buffalo.
All right.
I just don't understand how Cleveland's favored.
So 3 out of 4 dentists take Buffalo. Next up, the Arizona Cardinals will travel to Tampa Bay. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are 4.5-point favorites. I will start this off. I'm going to take Tampa Bay. I think Jameis Winston gets it done, and I think, unlike most people, I think he's shown great improvement this year. He's had 2 really bad games, but he doesn't have a running game or an offensive line. I think Winston's played better under first-year coach Bruce Arians, Matt.
Yeah, no doubt about it. You watch Tampa Bay. They missed a field goal early in the season. They would have been 3-1 had they made that field goal at the end. These two teams are actually a lot alike. They're very scrappy, good, solid defenses. They can both run the football. They've got receivers, and the quarterback play has been good, not great. But they're both pretty much 500 teams. I'll go with Tampa as well at home. But Arizona I think is going to give them a game. So if they win by 5, it's probably just going to be by 5.
Yeah.
I don't see they're going to win by more than 5.
So who do you take, Tampa Bay?
Yeah.
All right, Scott, Arizona or Tampa Bay?
I'm going to take Tampa. What's the spread on this, Mike?
4.5.
I'm going to take Tampa Bay, but I think like he was saying, I think it's going to be high scoring. I think Arizona. This is going to be a fun game to watch. These two teams, they're not very good, but like you were saying, Mike, Jameis Winston. Bruce Arians is just a really, really good coach. So I think Winston's playing well. I think it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. But I think Tampa Bay's got the better run defense here, and the better receivers to win a shootout. So I'm thinking like Bucks by 3. No, probably by.
They're favored by 4.5.
Forget the numbers. I'm just going to take Tampa Bay on this.
All right. Forget the numbers.
I don't like it.
Even though it's a pick-em show where we pick games by the spread. Brian.
Yes.
I am going to go against the grain on this. Tampa Bay may win, but I'm going to take the Cardinals. I think this is 2 evenly matched teams. Matt said it best. The quarterback play has been good, not great. I agree with you, Mike. Winston has played a lot better when you watch them. He doesn't make the stupid mistakes that he made, in his career. And I like the way that they really try to make the play calling really kind of fit around him. They don't ask him. I felt like before when you watched him, they were sometimes asking him to do things he really was not ready to do yet. Well, now they've kind of made it a little bit tighter. They do a great job of getting the ball into Evans' hands, play action. They do some things that he can do. And likewise with Arizona, even though they don't have the pieces yet for their air raid offense, I think Murray has played better than I expected. And the reason is I didn't feel like he had a lot of pieces around him. But he's really played a lot better than expected. They really do some good things offensively. Both teams have good defenses. I'm not saying that Arizona's going to win this, but I think they'll cover, and so I'll take Arizona.
All right. That was, I think, the longest anybody will ever take to pick that game this week on
that was
any
a tough
show we see.
That was a
Yeah.
tough game. I had a lot more to say about it. That's a really even game. This should be a good game.
I just wish Tampa Bay used their old uniforms with the gay pirate and the orange creamsicle colors because this game would be much more watchable than. Next up, the New York Giants will play the New York Jets. Now, I'll tell you, if this doesn't get goosebumps on you, I don't know what will. Brian, the Jets are 2.5-point underdogs against the Giants.
Yes, they are, and I'm going to take the Giants. This Jets team did not look good. I still kind of had a little bit of hope last week that they were going to beat Miami. They didn't. I've lost all hope. And the Giants for a half looked decent against the Cowboys. Second half, not so much, but I just think this is two not great teams, and I'm going to take the Giants.
Matt?
Yeah, same here. I thought the Giants played the Cowboys pretty tough last week. I thought it was going to be even closer than the score was, but the Cowboys ran away with it. The Jets, though, I mean, that is a dumpster fire. Adam Gase is an awful coach. He's the only coach I've ever seen that can stop Le'Veon Bell.
The only coach worse than him is Opie Taylor.
Right, he's brutal. I mean, the Jets, to me, are as bad as any team in the league. Maybe worse. It's just such a terrible situation over there. And I actually thought they were going to be the Buffalo Bills this year and be competing for the playoffs. I just cannot believe how bad they are. But no, I'm taking the Giants. I mean, the Giants aren't great either, but they're better than the Jets.
All right, Scott.
Well, I agree. The Jets, I mean, they scored 96 points, and the Giants have scored, I think, 176. The Jets can't score. They're not fun to watch.
Yes, they can. They've scored 96 points this year. They obviously can score.
Yeah, that's yippee. The Bengals have scored more than that. What does that say?
How many points did the Bengals scored?
124. So I think
that's rough.
Yeah, I know, especially with an offensive wizard like Opie Taylor.
Just give him time. So I think there's going to be a heavy dose of Barkley on this, and I think Barkley may be a good pick for fantasy. I think the Giants are going to win, probably at 7. They'll cover the spread.
All
right, so he's picking the Giants.
I'm going to pick the Giants, too. Next up, the Atlanta Falcons, New Orleans Saints. 13.5-point favorites, but I'm going to take the Saints anyways, just because the Falcons can't stop anybody. What do you think, Scott?
I agree with that. I think the Saints are I think they're good, but I think I think the Falcons is bad. They're just so bad. That's going to have more of an impact on the game than I think the Saints will. I think the Saints are going to win probably by 2 scores. So I would, yeah.
Brian?
Oh, I'm taking the Saints. Drew Brees back. This puts the Saints back in that elite level status of teams. And, let's be honest, when he was out, nobody expected them to do what they did, which really gives a lot of credit to Bridgewater, but also says that Saints defense is a good, solid defense. But with Breeze, there's no way they're winning this. No way the Falcons are winning this, so take the Saints.
Matt?
Oh, no question. Saints, if they don't win by more than 3 touchdowns, I'm going to be surprised. The Falcons, you just kind of think historically, since Matt Ryan's been there, they've been basically a playoff team every year. So it's kind of hard to picture them being a 1-win team, but their defense is really bad, and they just have their offense hasn't been the same since 2016. There's just something wrong there, and they just don't seem like they're going to be able to win a lot of games. So the Saints at home, hardest place to play in the league as far as I'm concerned. Saints should completely annihilate them.
All right, next up, Opie Taylor takes the Little Rascals, the Cincinnati Bengals, and they will host the Baltimore Ravens. Scott, the Bengals are 10.5-point underdogs. Does Opie Taylor get his first win here?
No, but I think the game's going to be close. I'm taking the Bengals on this. Yeah, I think Lamar Jackson he's so good, and I wish the Bengals had drafted him 2 years ago. I think
Why do you wish that? Why do you wish that Lamar Jackson would be considered a bust right now? Because that's what would have happened.
No, I'm not saying that, Mike. I'm just saying he's such a talent. You can't.
He is such a
you really
talent
can't.
in Baltimore. I can tell you this. I don't think he throws the ball that well. He went to a place where they were
He threw
willing.
the ball 100 yards in high school. You know that?
Okay. Do you know something?
His mom was
Wait a
there
second.
watching. Apparently.
Let me ask you this.
Mhm.
Why
Yeah.
does that matter? David Klingler threw the ball 100 yards also.
I don't believe that. No way.
I saw it. I saw him do it one knee 90 yards in training camp from Wilmington, Ohio in 1992.
Okay. All right. Well, listen. He was.
What's
terrible.
that got to do with throwing the ball well?
Listen. So no, I think Lamar Jackson is such a problem to try to defend. You can't blitz him. You got to almost surround him. I think Cincinnati. I think they're going to probably lose by about 7. So I'm taking Cincinnati on this. I just think that if Finley's going to surprise a lot of people, Mike, you'll see.
Yeah,
I'll accept your apology next week.
Well,
Who's going to surprise?
Ryan Finley.
Wait. Oh,
Ryan Finley's going to surprise. You know what, Scott? How many times have the Bengals lost by a touchdown or less this year?
You'll see.
No, Scott.
You'll see.
How many times
lot.
have the Bengals? A lot. All right. So what does Ryan Finley surprising people and the Bengals lose by 7 mean? Does that mean that Ryan Finley? No, hold on. Let me ask the question.
Yes,
If they lose by less than 7 points, does that mean the difference was Ryan Finley?
I think if I win this one, then this should be like a worth 10. So this gives me 10 wins. So
Why?
that's like erases my deficit. It's like a double shock power.
You're 22 back, so you'll still be
I know.
12 back.
I'm slowly chipping. It's my chipper.
You lost a game to all of us this week. 2 games to Brian.
Just wait. You'll see. This is
Just wait. You'll see. I don't care who plays. The problem, and it's not going to have anything to do with the Bengal offense. If you remember, with Andy Dalton starting in Baltimore, they lost 23-17. So Ryan Finley would have to get closer to that.
To watch a guy who actually can read a defense.
What? But I don't
really?
understand.
Whoa! Hold on. Now you're an absolute freaking moron if you think Andy Dalton's played 10 years, went to 6 Pro Bowls, and can't read a defense.
I think Dalton benefited from having decent talent around him. He had a better
wait a
offensive-
second.
yeah.
Can you tell me a quarterback that doesn't?
What?
Does that mean Joe Montana couldn't read a defense?
What the hell are you talking? No, I'm not talking about Montana. I'm just saying I think Dalton had better talent around him.
Than Joe Montana did?
I think he had a better defensive coordinator back then.
He did?
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
this guy
Mike
they have
Zimmer.
now?
So, what's your
Zimmer was
point?
really good.
So, are you trying to tell me that maybe the problem wasn't Andy Dalton, it was everybody else?
No, I'm trying to tell you, Finley, first of all, 6'4". You're not going to see balls get batted down.
Whoa!
That's
So, Ryan, you're not going to see batted balls because Ryan Finley is 6'4"?
Yeah.
Really?
That's going to be a big difference. You'll see.
Really? That makes a big difference.
I think he stands
2
in the
inches
front.
makes
You're
a big
gonna see fewer
difference.
sacks. You're going to see fewer sacks.
We're going to see
You're gonna
fewer
see fewer pick
sacks.
sixes.
Oh,
He's
my
not gonna
God.
Get pulled on.
Wow,
You'll see.
Scott.
Now,
Yeah,
you do
I
know
will
that
agree.
Ryan Finley is exactly 1 inch taller than Andy Dalton.
Andy Dalton's
Hey,
barely.
Matt, can you pass me the
Come on.
popcorn, please?
Andy Dalton
Yeah,
is
this is,
6'2".
God damn.
I got
Ryan-
the extra butter over
Ryan
here.
Finley-
Why don't you just take a dump
I appreciate it.
Ryan
This should be-
Finley.
Would you like
is
some extra
6
salt on that, Brian?
Ryan Finley
I appreciate
is
it. Thank
6. Wait a second. Ryan Finley is 6'3".
Hey,
Andy
who
Dalton
cares?
is 6'2".
God. Okay.
I just
Vodka
don't
whiskey,
understand.
man.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's 1
look,
inch
look,
of difference.
next
You know,
week,
Brian, I was thinking about jumping in here, but I don't think I'm going
How about
to.
this? Do you think Ryan Finley, only weighing 185 pounds, makes him too frail to play in the NFL?
I'm telling you, Ryan Finley, his brain is wired a hell of a lot better than Dalton's back there.
I'm
Ryan
saying
Finley-
this: you don't
NC State
have
has
you
NC
don't
State
have
has 4
one
starting
clue.
quarterbacks.
You don't have one
Brian, you want some
clue.
beer nuts,
Rivers
Brian?
went to- if
You
Philip
don't
Rivers
have
went to-
one
Appreciate it. Thank you.
clue what Ryan
see.
Finley can do because before the
I've got some
NFL
pretzels
draft,
with beer cheese over here.
I'm pretty sure
Sweet.
you called me and you said, "Who do you like the most in this draft?" And I said, "Ryan Finley," and you said, "I've never seen him play."
Right. So then I started watching. I'm like, I like what he does. So you and I agree on
He's
something.
not
So I'm
playing.
proud of you for joining my team.
I'm not joining your team because I'm not gay. So
Okay.
that's usually
there
what
we go.
that means, right? Joining the team,
All right.
like Joey Votto.
Did
Did you join Joey Votto's team?
I'm not going there. Stop it. Joey Votto he's a good hitter.
you say he's
Is
not,
he-
though, because you bitch
No,
about him all the time on
I said-
Facebook.
Is he a right-hander? I thought he's a switch hitter.
On Facebook, you complain about him all the time.
No,
You do.
I just think
You complain about him all the
Hey,
time.
Brian, I don't know if we're talking about baseball or something.
I don't know what we're doing here, Mike.
You know what I'm waiting for? I'm waiting for the first post about UC coach John Brannon and how much he sucks since Ohio State's taken the lead on Cincinnati.
Ohio State, this is on the road. Brandon's a good coach.
You know what? Xavier would beat Ohio State by 15 on the road, and they'll beat UC by 20 at home.
Terrible. Look, Ohio State, but this is compared to the debacle last year when they
be
looked
quiet.
like crap
Nobody
at home.
cares. Mick Cronin
Right.
is a much better coach than you've ever thought about being.
The hell
Brian, we'll see what your team does. Maybe we should start doing a weekly coaches show for your team.
Yes.
That actually is a good idea. Scott or Matt, you'd listen to that, wouldn't you?
I think I'd give it a gander.
Brian?
Oh.
For at least a few minutes. I'd check it out.
I definitely would give it a gander.
Brian would even call in and ask some questions.
We just call it friendly time.
I would turn it into a drinking game. So.
Well,
yes.
I think this whole
shot,
show, from the messages I get about this show, I think this game or this show is here basically for a drinking game. Next up is Brian Schmidt. The Ravens are favored by 10.5 at Cincinnati, where Opie Taylor will make his final stand. I wish.
All right, I wish too, but I'm going to make this semi-short. That's
what Scott told his wife on his honeymoon.
There is no way Baltimore is not winning this game, and I don't even see how we can have the conversation that this game is going to be within 10 points. Bengals are a mess. They're probably the best part of their team right now, with AJ Green being out, a lot of things, was the quarterback position that they screwed that up by not having enough respect.
Yep.
To
exactly
trade Dalton.
Yep.
Well, that's true. I agree with that. You're right. True.
But you don't respect Dalton. How can you agree with that?
No, I don't like when Dalton whined like a little girl. I should say that. Sorry.
Okay, so you don't agree
when
with
did he
that.
whine like a little girl? He's never blamed anybody.
I just wish they would have told me. Like, just
He had every right to say that. That was he
had
actually.
every right to say that.
Yeah,
He
you could have
I
sent
thought
him
he
to
handled
Chicago,
himself-
and Chicago
Oh, my
becomes a
God.
playoff team right away.
He handled himself with a lot of.
Tom Brady could do that. Andy Dalton hasn't done jack.
Now,
Except
what?
for-
Whoa!
Wow.
What have you done?
Wow.
Did you win
There
any
we go.
junior high
What
games
have I
this year
done?
when you were coaching?
Dalton's done. I have been a great armchair quarterback.
what's the pork rinds,
teaching Mike
Ryan?
Goodpaster with the basics. What?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't understand this.
All right. So
Anyway,
all the
Anyway,
adults in the
anyway,
room are picking the Ravens and
It's
giving
like
the
the
points,
other side of the story.
and
whatever
Scott's
Paul Harvey said,
doing
the
what
rest of the story.
Scott does. Scott,
Brian,
what? Go ahead.
I'll take the Ravens as well. Brian, you totally nailed it. The one thing the Bengals had going this year was the quarterback position. You watched. I've seen a few of the Bengals games this year. Andy Dalton did not play bad. The rest of the team was just brutal. To do what they did to him was just awful. And Finley is going to absolutely fall on his face. There's just no
and
reason.
this is not a Zach Taylor decision. I guarantee you. What they did is
I
they
don't
waited.
disagree with that.
Be quiet. They waited till 3 hours before the trade deadline.
Right,
And then announced
exactly.
that Ryan Finley was going to be the quarterback. They did that so Bengal fans wouldn't bitch because they didn't trade anybody, and they did nothing to try to make themselves better for the future. The only thing they did is blame Andy Dalton, and it's bullshit. Because Andy Dalton is not the reason this has went bad. But you know what? Andy Dalton is the reason they went to the playoffs 5 straight years. And he is the reason A.J. McCarron is a career backup.
I don't disagree with that.
Thank you. All right, next up, Scott, the Detroit Lions. That's Chicago Bears. The Bears are favored by 2.5.
Lions by 3. I think Stafford is playing at a very high level, and I think the line. I think Stafford's a very underrated quarterback. Trubisky just keeps doing bad, just performance after performance. I just think Chicago's the Lions are gonna win by 3. So I'm going Detroit.
Okay. So
now,
Mitch Trubisky.
Go ahead and rip on that. What are you gonna say about that?
What I would say about that is this: when you try to give me quarterback advice on who's good and who's bad, when your Mitch Trubisky line is he's just bad, that really doesn't explain it to me. Matt,
yes.
Detroit at Chicago. Chicago favored by 2.5.
Chicago favored by 2.5. Mitch Trubisky, to me, is definitely not what he was last year. He just looks inaccurate. It's kind of like, I remember we talked about Mitch Trubisky when he was drafted. You kind of told me you felt that he, especially when he threw to his right, that's when he would throw a lot of interceptions. His problem was always inaccuracy, and that's what I see this year. He just doesn't look. I thought he looked pretty accurate last year for the most part. He kind of played within himself, took what the defense gave him. I don't know what they're doing this year. I don't know what's wrong with that offense. They're not using Tariq Cohen very well. Allen Robinson, of course, is awesome, but just the rest of the team, there's just no real swagger on that offense the way they kind of looked last year, although I do like the rookie running back. The Lions, to me, are a lot better than their record. I think they should have won a couple of the games that they've lost. I like Stafford. I like the rest of the team. I just wish they had a run game and a pass rush. So they do have weaknesses there. But in Chicago, I'm gonna take the Lions and the points. I just don't really like the Bears this year.
Yeah, the only thing I heard out of the whole thing was I was right about Mitch Trubisky.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. I totally agree with that.
I would have taken the Lions too. I don't think they're necessarily better than the record. I think that record comes from lack of being able to run the football. So
yeah,
until they can fix that, I wouldn't blame this on Matt Patricia. Brian,
I agree with both of you 100%. I'm taking the Lions. I've watched the Lions enough, and I love Stafford, and they throw the ball, but man, when you cannot run, there's been at least I want to say 2 to 3 games they've lost this year that they've had to lead in the fourth quarter, and the inability to run the football is the reason why they've lost that game.
Yep.
That being said, Trubisky looks just awful, and the one thing that I notice is the worse he looks, as a play caller, now you get to the point where you don't know what to call, but you're trying to play it as safe as possible. And even in doing that, he's still not complete. But he threw a pass, I think I saw it last week, where a simple swing out of the backfield, and he missed the running back by almost 3 yards. And he wasn't under pressure. So I don't know what's wrong with him. I mean, I've not studied enough to look and see if it's a mechanical issue or what's going on, but
Trubisky,
it's not there. I've not watched him.
His eyes and his feet do not work together. If you ever watch him, he'll turn his head. His eyes will look one place to throw the ball. As he's throwing, he moves his feet to that position. It's what throws the ball off to the right or to the left. It's what it's always been.
I'm not a big. I've never really been able to watch Chicago very much, but the Lions in this, I just think that they're a better team than the Bears right now, and they'll win this.
All
and
right.
Scott, you picked the Bears by 3. Is that what I heard? Just want to make sure I got it right.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, next up, the Miami Dolphins against the Indianapolis Colts in Indianapolis, Brian. The Colts are favored by 10. Who's quarterback in this week? Is it Brian Hoying, or Jacoby Brissett?
I think it's Hoyer.
Ooh,
I think it's Hoyer.
All right.
Yeah. I was actually trying to look at, he was limited in his first day of practice. This was today. But they're saying it's a positive sign, is it being so he may play. I'm going to take the Colts. The Dolphins got to win against, the Jets. That's great. But I think the Colts are still going to be a little bit too much. So even if Brissett doesn't play. So I'll take the Colts.
All right, Matt.
Just didn't catch the spread.
10.
Colts by 10?
Yeah.
Wow. I'm going to take the Jags in the points. I just think that's a little too high of a spread. Brissett's been playing pretty well, but without him
Wait
there,
a second. Did you say you were going to take the Jags?
Yeah, I thought it was the.
He did.
I thought
oh my
the Jaguars.
God, Scott, is that you? Can you now impersonate Matt?
Great.
Did I
This
just?
is
Oh,
Finally.
he just
About
pulled a
damn
Wilson.
time.
It's
Yes.
Miami at
Oh, son of a
Indianapolis.
I was looking at November 17th.
What kind of moron does that?
Right?
I love it. The
Crap.
Revenge of the Nerd.
Crap.
So
I guess we
Miami
can't
or
scratch
Indiana?
that from the podcast.
No, there's no reason to. I think
All
Scott.
right,
I'm going to do this. It's up to Scott. Scott, do we leave it in or do we take it out?
Hell yes, we
It's
leave
up
that
to
in.
Scott.
All
Hell
right.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
Matt,
we're like, hey,
I
make
could
sure
take
you
that.
write
I
down
could
that you took the Jags and 10 points.
Yes.
Right.
No.
I'll take the Colts to cover.
All right. I actually
The wrong
consider
week.
taking the Dolphins. If they had a running game, I would. But Brian
They
Hoyer
traded
is
that away.
playing. But I'm going to go with the Colts. But I think it could be closer to what we all think it could be. Scott?
I'm going to take the Colts. I just think the Colts have superior. The Colts actually defensively, I think, are pretty good.
You do?
Yeah, I think you're going to see. I think Hoyer's. I don't think it matters. I just think Indianapolis is better. And I think the Dolphins. I think they had a big win in Week 9, but I just don't. I think the Colts are going to win this by a lot, probably by 14.
All right, next up, Matt, we'll let you take a first shot at your hometown team. The Green Bay Packers host the Carolina Panthers. The Packers are favored by 5.5 points.
5.5 points. I thought they were pretty awful last week. I was thinking about this game today. I saw this on the schedule, and I think the Panthers are going to win the game. I'm going to take the Panthers in the points. Just don't think Green Bay is all that against that kind of a defense. I think the Panthers have a better defense than the Chargers do. They're going to have a real hard time stopping McCaffrey, and I just think this is going to be they're going to give Green Bay a problem here. So I'm going to go Carolina on the points.
All right, I'm going to take the Packers, and I'm going to give the points just because I know how Matt is, and like 12 times this year, he's going to pick against the Packers and give some reason why they're going to lose, and 8 of those 12 times he's going to be wrong.
Sounds good.
I'm going to go with Green Bay just because I think this. I don't think the Panthers have the same kind of pass rush that Bosa and Ingram have with the Chargers. So I'm not talking about overall defense. I just don't think the Panthers will be able to pressure Rodgers the way that the Chargers did. I like the Pack. Brian.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Packers. I just think that they stubbed their toe pretty badly last week, and I agree with Matt in that I don't think the Packers are as good as people think they are, but I think they are better than the Panthers, and I think they'll win this and cover.
Scott.
Well, I'm going to take. I actually think the Packers are going to win, but I don't think they're going to cover the spread. So I'm going to take Carolina on this. I think McCaffrey is really good, but I think that Aaron Rodgers is going to save this team. I think that being at home, it's just a big, and not having Cam Newton, that's a huge adjustment again. So
they're better off without him.
They haven't had Cam Newton since like week 4, have they? Week 3?
Week
I know.
2.
I don't know. I think this hurts him. I think Rodgers
does
is
not
just a
hurt
really
them.
good.
How does that not having
no,
Cam Newton hurt him?
I think
no,
this makes up for
I
my
think-
blunder.
I'm sorry. Should I pick Should I pick the Jags on this one like they had like?
You should. That would be
Okay.
better than what you said
Thank
about
you.
Cam Newton.
Thank
No,
you.
it wouldn't.
Okay, so I'm taking Carolina on this, and I think the Packers win, but don't cover the spread.
Okay, I'm completely confused. Did we all pick that game?
Yes.
All right, next up, the Los
Yeah.
Angeles Rams will travel to Pittsburgh to battle the Steelers in a rematch of Super Bowl 14. Matt, what was the score of Super Bowl 14?
31-19.
That is very good. Brian Schmidt. Who threw the
All right.
touchdown
Same question.
pass? No, who threw the touchdown pass on the halfback pass towards the end of the first half for the Rams to give the Rams the lead?
Who threw the halfback pass?
Yeah, you don't remember the halfback pass?
I don't remember the halfback pass.
Yeah, Lawrence McCutcheon, correct, Matt?
Yeah, Lawrence McCutcheon.
Apparently enough concussions have.
Oh, you haven't had any
I'm gonna have to go back
concussions.
and watch.
The only way you
Who
got a
doesn't
concussion
know
if
that?
you
It's
hit
a
your
good
head on
game.
the table when you were bending over to pick up your Jack and Coke. All right, Scott, for the final question, and right now, Matt's winning on our Super Bowl trivia show.
What?
All right. Who
Oh,
was that?
I won that one year.
No, you didn't. You lost
Yeah,
to
I
me and
did.
Matt.
Yes, I did.
No, you
Bull.
beat other people.
BS.
You lost to me. And those shows are still up, so you know we can
Whatever.
pull them up.
I won.
You
I
didn't,
did.
but okay. So
Okay.
we need a good Super Bowl 14 question here. Who was the starting quarterback for the Los Angeles Rams?
What year was this?
Super Bowl 14, 1979.
I don't freaking know. The Rams? Well, let me Google it. I don't know.
It was Vince Ferragamo.
Ferragamo.
Oh, yeah, I should have known that. My bad.
Number 15,
Sorry.
quarterback from California University. When they beat USC in 1975. All right, Rams Steelers. The Steelers are 3.5-point home dogs, Schmitty.
Yes, they are, and this is a weird game. Pittsburgh is going to have to. First of all, let me take a 30-second deal to last week. Some of the worst offensive play calling that I've seen, in a week since watching a Bengals game happened in the Steelers game. Just the play calling offensively was terrible. Thank God Pittsburgh's defense is a heck of a lot better than it's been in years. They play a lot more physical defensively. They get after it. They make turnovers. Thank God they can take a 96-yard interception back, or they would have lost last week. So, with that being said, I'm going to take Pittsburgh. I don't know if Pittsburgh is going to win, but I'm going to take Pittsburgh because they play a lot more physical defensively. The Rams have struggled against teams that want to get in your face and be physical. So I'm going to think this is going to be a dirty, kind of a in-your-face kind of a game, and I'm going to take Pittsburgh in this.
All right, Matt.
I want so much for Brian to be right. I'm gonna take the Rams just because the Rams are the better team, but I really hope I just want Pittsburgh to win this game. That'd be great, but that's gonna be tough. But I do think you're right. I think the Steelers really are a good physical team on defense, and they really do make it hard for offenses to operate the way that they'd like to, and especially like you said, the Rams have been struggling this year against physical defenses. Even like you think about what Tampa Bay did to them, they were getting into Goff's face, and that's where they have some problems. So unless Todd Gurley can get back to his old self, I think the Steelers are going to give him a game. I just hope that they win it, but I'm going to take the Rams to win and cover.
All right.
I'll say this for Matt. I'm going to say this for Matt. With Tuitt being out for Pittsburgh, it has hurt the run defense a little bit. But I love the physical nature of how they play both.
They are physical.
But their DBs and people that kind of poo-pooed the trade, giving up a number one they're finding out right now that was a very good trade and a solid trade that I think will bode well for Pittsburgh in the future because
it's a great trade.
He's a player. So with that, like I said, for Pittsburgh to win this, they've got to turn this thing into a dirty game, kind of what the Indianapolis game was, and even the Miami game to an extent. Miami had no business being up 14-0, but Rudolph was interception early, but Pittsburgh has to win by that dirty, gritty kind of a football, which is kind of getting back to what Pittsburgh Steeler football was
Well, it's the way you guys played my team. Oh my God, I did not enjoy that. That was a rough game.
That's how they've got to win football games right now. They've just got to turn it into a street fight.
Yeah.
All right, you girls done talking?
My turn?
No, it's my turn. So,
Okay, sorry.
Tom Brady asking for a high five.
I think it could be a close game. I think if the coaches got in a fight, Mike Tomlin would win because Sean McVay's a wuss like Opie Taylor. I'm
Have
going
you
to go
seen
with
his wife? Oh, my God.
whose wife?
McVay's. Oh, my God.
Oh, he's straight? All right, so he's different than Opie.
She's pretty good looking.
Yeah, it's because he's got a lot of money, but as soon as he loses his job in 3 years, she's going to go, hang out with Mike Tomlin.
What? Oh, yeah, sure. That's Benson genius level crap you just said.
What?
I don't know. All right. Whose turn? Is it my turn?
What did you pick, Mike?
I picked the Rams reluctantly, even though I hope the Rams win, because as we know, all Steeler fans and players are, except for Brian. And I'm not sure about him sometimes. So.
I'm not sure about me sometimes, but that's another subject.
Hey, let's all be quiet because Scott is going to give us what's going to happen in this game.
This is really what's going to happen. I think the Rams, they're on a bye week, and, they're rested. I think Aaron Donald, he's going big time on his offensive line. I think Goff is going to face a tough Steelers pass rush, and he doesn't have Cooks, which that hurts them a lot. But I think
Cooks
Donald
is out?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Out.
Yeah, Cooks out.
Yes.
Okay.
I think Ramsey is I think that trade, I agree, it was really. I think Ramsey's really good, and I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. So I think what'd you say the spread was, Mike?
3.5, I think.
3.5. I think the Rams cover. Yeah.
All right, let's try to end our sentences with periods from now on instead of yeah.
Really?
What?
Nothing.
Hey, all I know is this. You've been kicking Matt Andruscavage's ass on this show for the last 20 minutes. I'm proud of you.
What?
I was just saying I was proud of you because you've been making Matt look bad for the last 20 minutes with your witty humor.
Hey, this is a great time. God bless America.
Gotta relish it.
It's my favorite show. It's nowhere near our most listened to show, but it's my favorite. Next up, the Minnesota Vikings will travel to Dallas to play the Cowboys. A rematch in the 1977 NFC Championship game won by who? Matt?
That would be Dallas.
What was the final score, Schmitty?
17-13.
No, Schmitty, 23-6. Who was the starting quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings in the 1977 NFC Championship game, Scott?
It was it was not Randall Cunningham. I know that.
Ooh.
Just missed it by 22
I don't know.
years.
Who?
So you don't know who the starting quarterback was for the 1977 Minnesota Vikings?
I didn't really. I was in preschool at the time. Wasn't really.
Can I do it?
Go ahead.
I got it.
Go ahead. No, Schmitty.
Brand Tarkenton.
No.
Yes,
he
sir.
was the start. No, he was not the starter in that game because he got hurt. And if you remember the Mud Bowl game in '77 with the Rams, the quarterback was Bob Lee. Bob Lee was the quarterback at the '77 championship game when the Vikings got shut down 23-6.
Ooh. Didn't know that. So this is what it feels like to be Scott.
The other interesting thing is this. That was the game where, I forget what part of the game it was, but if you remember, Matt, I know we got video of the DVD of this game. This is the game where the Cowboys fan caught on fire in the stands.
Oh, God. That was rough.
Do you remember that?
I do.
Oh, yeah, they show it on the game. The camera pans down, and this dude is just in flames. I don't remember what happened, but he caught on fire during the game.
About that.
I think it was God trying to strike the Dallas Cowboys and their fans down. But All right. So Dallas is favored by 3, hosting the Vikings, Brian.
Dallas is favored by 3, hosting the Vikings.
And remember, Adam Thielen looks like he's probably not going to play.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'll take
That's
Dallas.
rough.
All right, Matt.
Tough game. Another pluses and minus game. I am going to take the Cowboys at home. It's a safe pick. The Vikings I do like Dalvin Cook a lot. Oh, man. I wish Thielen was there. I think I'd take the Vikings. But Dallas, to me, has just been very inconsistent. Sometimes they look really good. Other times they're just not at all. But I guess I could probably say that about the Vikings as well. But I don't know. I'm gonna just take the Cowboys on this one. I don't really have a lot. This is a tough one.
Yeah, the thing that concerns me is the addition of Michael Bennett on that defensive line for the Cowboys, because
That's a good point too.
The Vikings have a huge deficit on the offensive line, so I'm going to take the Cowboys and hope I'm wrong, because I hate the Dallas Cowboys. Scott, Minnesota, Dallas favored by 3.
Dallas. I think Dallas is going to win by a lot. I think Dallas does really well. They were statistically at home in big games. The Vikings do not. They're a bad road team in big games. So just based on that, I think Dallas coming off a short week. But Minnesota, I think they're going to have some same the defensive problems they had in Kansas City. But I think they got a few more offensive limitations around Cousins. I think Prescott does well. He still stretches the field. I think Elliott, this actually sounds pretty smart. Damn. Elliott, he's going to have some chunk runs. And I think Cousins is going to succumb to the pass rush of the Cowboys. So I think the Cowboys.
I thought you just said like everything that I'd already said.
Well, this was my original thought first, so I went. So I'm right. Go ahead. What's that?
Wow. I guess he told you, Mike.
Yeah. I mean.
Yeah.
So who do you think on that Cowboys defensive line is going to make it rough for Cousins?
Well, Mike, we see,
many possible answers.
Can I buy a vowel?
You had the original thought, so I even gave you the guy that I thought was going to make the difference, and you can't even name him.
Who's the end? DeMarcus, Lawrence? Who's the end they have?
Yeah.
Lawrence Welker.
Lawrence Welk?
Who?
Lawrence Welk.
What? No. Shut up. Stop it. Damn it. They have an end that's really good. DeMarcus Ware. Isn't he still there?
Yes, DeMarcus Ware.
There
yes.
You got it. But yes, Michael Bennett, I think, makes the bigger difference.
Oh, Michael
DeMarcus Ware is clearly the best player in this game.
But Michael Bennett makes the biggest difference, because Michael Bennett makes it easier on DeMarcus. That's why I think
it's Lawrence, right?
Yeah, that's whatever. All those guys. Name it a front four for the 1977 Vikings, Scott.
What? Who cares?
Defensive line.
Know.
The Purple People Eaters. Alan Page, Jim Marshall, Carl Eller.
Carl Eller. Is there a guy named John?
Jim Marshall.
Yeah.
Marshall.
Said Jim Marshall.
Marshall. Penny Marshall. Scott.
Marcus.
All right, let's get to the game that Matt's going to tell us. I'm really worried about this game because it's going to be tough, because that's what he tells us about all the 49er games. So we'll let you start off. There is no line on this game. Yes, there is. San Francisco is favored by 6 over the Seattle Seahawks, Matt.
Well, I'm worried about Russell Wilson, but I do think the Niners are a lot better than the Seahawks overall. I do think they have the better defense. I think they've got the better offensive line. I think the running games are pretty close, but I would give the edge to the Niners just for the depth part of it. But it's until they beat the Seahawks with Jimmy Garoppolo, you can't pound your chest.
All right, so you're going to pick the Seahawks.
I'm not going to pick the Seahawks. I'm going to take the Niners, but I am not overconfident on this one. But I do think they will win. I'm going to say they're going to cover. They haven't covered in a while.
You really wanted to just start this off by saying this game really worries me, didn't you?
It's the Seahawks.
You did want to start it. You did, though, right?
Of course I did. Why wouldn't I?
All right.
This is the toughest game of the year.
It's not, Matt. It's really not.
It's Russell Wilson. He's the MVP of the league.
When you are playing New Orleans For the
Well,
NFC
to this
Championship,
point.
that'll be the toughest game of the year.
Up to this point. Otherwise, you're correct.
All right, so I'm going to take the Niners. They're the better team. Scott? But I will say this. Not to interrupt you, Scott, but I want to sound smart because I know you're going to bring something heavy here to make me look bad. So I will say this. If you're the 49ers, don't let this be a one-touchdown game going into the fourth quarter. Go ahead,
All
Scott.
right. So here we go. You ready for this? Seattle's going to win by 2 scores. Okay? Here's what's going to happen. The 49ers.
Feeling better already.
I looked at this game. I'm telling you, I'm going to be right on this. They've beaten Tampa Bay, this 49ers, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, Cleveland, the Rams, Washington, Carolina. Those teams are 22 and 43.
Hey, Scott, why don't you look at the Seahawks? They've played the same teams. The Niners have a much better point differential in those victories.
I don't disagree
You're
with that.
crazy.
I think Chris Carson was a Case or Carson. He's going to run for 100 yards. Carson, I think Seattle's defense is going to give Garoppolo.
Are you trying to tell me you can't really read?
I think Seattle's defense.
You don't know what you're talking about, Scott.
I will accept all apologies next week. I actually like the 49ers. I think they're a really good team. I think they're.
If you're right, you'll be right completely accidentally.
If I'm right, this is like a triple shock. Kiss my ass.
This is called accidental.
All right, how about
falling
this?
Right.
Let's look at this.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Let's look at this. Okay, they beat the Bengals by a point at home. They beat the Steelers by 2. Neither one good teams. Sorry, Brian. Pittsburgh plays hard, but they're not a good team.
No, Mike's making a good point. Scott, you can learn something here. Listen to what Mike's saying here.
The New Orleans Saints scored 33 points on them with Teddy Bridgewater in Seattle and beat them in Seattle. Now, they blew out the Cardinals. They beat the Rams by a point at home. They beat the Browns, who you said sucked, by 4 points in Cleveland. They got blown out by 2 touchdowns by the Baltimore Ravens. The thing to really pay attention to here is the Baltimore Ravens are a team with a good offensive line. They can get after the passer. They're not half the team the 49ers are, and they went to Seattle and kicked the crap out of them. You go to Atlanta. Atlanta's a team we've already said sucks. They can't get out of their own way. And the Seahawks almost blow a 3-touchdown lead and only win the game 27-20. And Matt Schaub was the quarterback, I believe. Next up, they played the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at home. It was a game that went to overtime. And the Buccaneers have a bad offensive line, no running game, and they still scored 34 points in Seattle. So, Scott, I'll tell you this. The Seahawks are going to get rung up by at least 2 touchdowns. They're going to get beaten. They're going to get bludgeoned. They're going to be bloodied. And they're going to be bowed. And you're going to come on this show next week, and you're going to apologize for being a moron because the breakdown you just gave me is this. When I started to pick this game, I thought the Niners would win a close game because Russell Wilson was on the other team. But when I look at this, the way you told me to look at it, I have no doubt the 49ers are going to smack the Seahawks right in the face.
Do you know that Garoppolo's thrown 13 TDs and 7 picks? That's 3.1% of his pass attempts are interceptions.
Did you know that last week he threw 4 touchdowns and no interceptions?
Yes, I saw that game. He is fun
Most
to
of
watch.
his interceptions came in the first 4 weeks, Scott. Again,
look, I'm not,
don't know what you're talking about.
Again, I don't know why I'm being told to pipe down against Mike when he cuts me off everything I say.
I never told you to pipe down.
Your analysis is so bad, Scott. It's terrible.
Most of what I'm saying is probably BS anyway. So
there you go. Now you're
anything
on to something.
I say. So I got you.
You got it.
But yeah. So here we go.
If you're right, you're right completely accidentally. All right,
how about this?
Let's
do this.
It's accidental.
I'm right.
Hey, let's look this up. Right now. The San Francisco 49ers are first in total
hear anybody.
defenses. The 49ers are first in total defense. All right. The 49ers are first in passing defense. Brian, will you be quiet even though you can't hear anybody? Can anybody else hear anything?
I can hear Brian. I can hear everybody.
I don't hear anybody.
Brian, be quiet. I don't want to have to mute him. That's disrespectful.
We're all choppy.
What?
No, we're clear.
There you are. There you are. Now you're clear.
Okay. The 49ers are number 1 in passing defense. They are number 1 in total defense. Let's look and see where the Seattle Seahawks are in total defense. That'll be fun. Oh, where are they?
I just did all this today with Dexter on our 49ers show. I can tell you all this. The Niners are number 1 passing defense. They're number 1 overall in yards per game on defense. Number 2 in points allowed. Number 3 in third down percentage allowed. 16 total takeaways.
Hey,
which is
you can stop there because I can give you this. Seattle's 25th.
You're an idiot, Scott.
Jimmy Garoppolo is a stud, and you're a man that thinks Ryan Finley is going to save the Bengals. You're a man that thought A.J. McCarron would save the Bengals, and you think A.J. Dalton has been to many Pro Bowls.
It would never happen, Scott.
The New York Jets are better on defense than Seattle.
I think Aaron Andrews would have you beat in analysis. It's
so
bad.
Not. Aaron Andrews would be hard to. That's a pretty woman. I think Jadeveon Clowney's going to have a field day against Garoppolo.
Really, against our offensive line?
Okay.
Oh,
hey,
you know that Justin Juzik's coming back.
Actually, 41% of the time.
You don't even know what's going on, Scott. The Niners are getting both of their starting tackles back. They've been doing all this with their 4th and 5th starting
and the starting fullback. The Seahawks are going to get beat to death, Scott. It's going to be ugly. I'm calling it right now. San Francisco 38, Seattle 20. And that's just because Russell Wilson is the best quarterback in the NFL outside of Deshaun Watson.
Kenyon Drake, Miami's who's trying before? I think he went for 110 yards last week.
Yeah, he did. It's the one. It was the one game they weren't perfect on defense.
McCaffrey did it too, 117
McCaffrey did it. There's no other running back like him in the free.
And most of it came on 2 plays, Scott. But you probably don't know that.
Adrian Peterson at 80 yards against. I'm just saying.
Adrian Peterson's going to the Hall of Fame, Scott. Do you ever hear of that? You know what the Hall of Fame is?
He doesn't run like a Hall of Famer now. Come on.
He doesn't? He ran for over 100 yards last week. Hold on here. We got what's the NFL rushing leaders?
Yeah, here we go, Scott. Your kryptonite.
You can't just talk out of your ass and expect us to just agree with you.
Here come the facts. Scott's going to run.
There we go.
Hold on. Let's see what Adrian Peterson's done so far this year. Adrian Peterson has rushed for over 1,000 yards already, Scott.
I didn't know that. Is that really true?
No, but see, the thing is this. I'm smarter than you because you believe everything I say. I don't believe anything you say.
I called you BS, you punk.
You didn't call me BS. You said, is that true? Nobody has 1,000 yards rushing yet. Dalvin Cook has 894. Christian McCaffrey has 881. Let's see. Adrian Peterson has rushed for 500 yards. He's on pace to rush for over 1,000 yards again. And
his yards per average is pretty good.
Yeah, 4.3. And he's playing on a horrible team, and he's still a stud. So the fact that they only gave up 80 yards to Adrian Peterson, I think they'll be all right. Now I think Chris Carson will run the ball fine, and I think Russell Wilson will play fine. The problem is this. The 49ers force turnovers, and I'm going to make this prediction. I think the 49ers will pick off Russell Wilson twice, and that's the difference in this game, 38-20, 49ers. I will basically, from that silence, you're conceding defeat.
No, hell no, I'm not conceding defeat. Why would I concede defeat?
Because
I just think
you're always defeated.
I think Garoppolo. I'm telling you, I think Garoppolo. If he gets sacked, he fumbles. He's not a. He's a really good.
A lot of people do, Scott.
It's true, 40% of the time.
40% of the time? What kind of number is that?
There's no way he fumbles 40% of the time.
Are you out of your? He's got 2 fumbles.
I'm looking right at the stats.
You're an idiot. He's got 2 fumbles.
Hey, there's no reason to call Scott nasty names, Matt. I do draw the line there.
I'm telling you, statistically, I'm looking right at it.
Oh my God!
He fumbles 40. It's 41.6% of the time.
Let me ask you this, just for the hell of it. How many times has he been sacked this year?
He's only been sacked 12 times, but he's fumbled 5 of the times he's been sacked. So,
he's lost 2 fumbles.
I'm saying ball security. That could be a a factor.
You
and
know what?
Clowney and Jerry
Is ball
Reed are
security
good.
a factor with you, Scott?
It depends what year. Yeah. So.
Give me this, Scott. What college did
Yes.
Jimmy Garoppolo go to?
Some small. I don't know. What was it, Mike? I
Eastern
literally
Illinois.
don't know, and I don't
Eastern
care.
Illinois.
Where?
Eastern Illinois.
Oh, well, so what? What does that have anything to do with this?
I just wanted to know if you knew anything.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Hey, how about
who
this?
was
Where'd Tony Romo?
MVP?
Where'd Tony Romo go to college?
I don't know, but he's got a good. I like his analysis.
Eastern
He gets me
Illinois.
excited.
I think he sucks. And I think
Right.
his analysis is really similar to yours.
But he's fun. He's good. He explained it. The quarterback's perfected. Kind of like you, but he's more detailed.
Whatever. he could be more detailed because he doesn't have some, I'm not going to say any bad words, but somebody that doesn't know what they're talking about running off at the mouth all the time.
That's probably true.
Okay. And Matt, I apologize. That's just the way it is.
You guys, I appreciate you putting up with me. You guys are fun.
All right. Well, Matt picked the Jaguars. Let's see how that goes this week.
Yep, I did. I blew it.
Yeah.
I picked it the wrong week. You got me.
All righty. That was
Did
another
Brian
thing.
pick the game?
I know I.
Oh, Brian, you want to pick the game?
For the last 10 minutes, I've been trying to figure out if using drugs or alcohol is maybe a good thing.
I thought you already said that alcohol was.
Oh my God.
Well, I was thinking something stronger, but I
teach middle school. I got to be up at 6 a.m. There's
I'm
no
just
way.
I'm just going to go ahead and say that is there was a part of me before this whole diatribe that I wanted to desperately take the Seahawks, not because I don't like the 49ers, but just because I think that the Seahawks, have maybe that opportunity in this game. But after listening to all this, I'm 100% on the 49er camp, so I'm going to take the 49ers.
I think I have some power here because everything I do, you all do the opposite. So.
Well,
Yeah.
look at the record, Scott.
That's true. I can't argue that.
Yeah, you know what? You fumble these picks as often as Jimmy Garoppolo fumbles when he gets hit being
I
sacked.
won 2 weeks ago, so I do have some credibility.
You did not win 2 weeks ago.
So I did.
No,
Or
you
you
were
make
not
a-
on the show.
you
If
make
you're
a-
not on the show to accept
Oh my
the
God!
prize,
Give me a
doesn't count.
whatever. Yeah. Listen to whatever. Stupid.
Well, just remember this: a journey of 1,000 miles must begin with a single step.
What the? I'm sorry. Yes.
And Ryan Finley will take that first journey this week on Sunday at Paul Brown Stadium. And it should be a unique and utterly disastrous journey. All right, guys, remember, follow us at Grilling Truth on Twitter. You can follow Scott Wilson by just direct message me on Twitter. I'll give you his home address. And what? You laugh, but I gave 3 people it today.
No.
Why, are you afraid? Be a man.
Oh,
All right, guys.
Yeah, my wife would love that.
I would make another joke, but I won't because I feel sorry for your wife because she's stuck with you.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
she seems like a very nice lady.
She's a good woman. She's a very good woman. I'm very lucky.
Yes, you are, Scott. Yes, you
Yes.
are. All right, guys. We're going to wrap it up.
You all.
And, what'd you say, Scott?
No, I said this has been. I said just like you all for my time. No, this is fun.
Okay, Scott. All right, guys,
All right.
we're going to wrap it up. You can hear all of our shows on iHeartRadio, Spotify, believe it or not, Spreaker, Stitcher, TuneIn, wherever you find podcasts, you'll find The Grilling Truth. So for Scott Wilson, who was winless in his junior high football coaching career this year, Brian Schmidt, who did not coach junior high football this year, Matt Andruscavage, who also did not coach junior high football, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth. We're the legends, and then Scott Wilson speak.